Hello, welcome or welcome back to the Yarn and Yarns YouTube channel. My name is Angela and all the places you can find me should be linked in the description box below this video. Here on the channel you'll find me chatting about my adventures in knitting, spinning, crochet and weaving, all of the fibre related things. Today's video is day 5 of our 12 cast-ons making adventure, 12 cast-ons 2025. If you happen to be new to the channel, if this is the first video you're clicking on, you are most welcome. The 12 cast-ons is a make-along that I host. It starts at this time of year, so we start on the 24th of December, Christmas Eve, and the cast on portion of the make along goes right through till the end of January. And I am casting on 12 new projects. If you wanted to join in the make along, you can just cast on one project. You could join me for the full 12, or you can cast on any number in between. Once we've finished the cast on portion of the make along, we'll then launch into a year-long make along where we try to finish as many of our new projects as we possibly can. I'm not always successful at the finishing part, I'm great at the starting part. I've still got many projects on my needles from previous years of 12 cast-ons. So you may be thinking, why on earth do you do this to yourself, Ange? And the answer is, I don't know. Because it's fun, is what the answer is. The main driver for me starting this 12 cast-ons shenanigans a few years ago was to try and get some projects started using yarns, fibres, patterns that I've had in my stash at home, things I've already purchased that just for one reason or another hadn't managed to make it into project form. I'm not someone who worries about how many works in progress or how many hibernating projects I've got. My projects will get finished as and when the time is right. So of course this is meant to be fun. If you do want to join in, do not stress yourself out. If you want to only just cast on one thing, you are most welcome to the cast on party. You can stop there. For today's video, I'm going to be starting a spin project. Up until now, it's been all knit all the way, but today I'm going to be starting a spin. Now, in the past, when I've started spin projects for the 12 cast-ons, they've been spin to knit projects, and by that I mean I've deliberately started a spin with a project in mind to use the hand spun yarn for. But this year I'm doing a spin just for fun. I have decided not to put any pressure on myself to make a certain type of yarn to fit in with a particular knitted or crocheted or woven project. I'm just going to spin for fun, and then hopefully I will end up with a sweater-ish quantity of yarn, and I'll pick a pattern based on the yarn that I produce. So I'm going to be doing a combo spin, a combination spin. By that I mean I've picked out several different braids from my stash. I'm going to be stripping down the fibre, and then I'll just be kind of spinning them randomly. So I don't ultimately know what my yarn's going to look like, which is also why I'm not choosing a pattern yet. The lovely Tracy of Passionate Spinner has an amazing video about combo spinning. It is a few years old now, but this is where I learned the technique from when I first got into spinning. So I will try to remember, if I can, to link Tracy's video below, because she's got a great explanation and a great tutorial on how she does it. Without further ado, let me show you the fibres that I have pulled out of my fibre bins today. When I made my list for the cast-ons this year, I knew that I wanted to do a combo spin project, but I didn't really know what fibres I was going to choose, and I left that decision up till this morning. I went rummaging through my fibre bins and I found 4 braids of fibre from the same dyer which have inspired this particular spin, but I've also pulled in another braid which I'll show you at the end to just try and make sure that I get enough yarn for a sweater if I can. So my default spinning style, if I don't really put any considerable thought or effort into my spinning, if I just kind of spin how feels natural, I tend to end up with a sport to DK weight yarn. To be on the safe side, I would have liked 600 grams of fibre really to start, but I could only find one other braid that went, there were 4 that my eye was drawn to immediately, and I thought, yeah, that's the start of my combo spin. But then I could only find one other braid that really went with this. So I've got 500 grams, hopefully that'll be enough. Ultimately, depending on what project I end up making with the finished yarn, I can always throw in a contrast colour for ribbing, for a stripe, something like that. I will be able to hopefully make a sweater with whatever yarn I end up with. These are the 4 braids that I am starting with, and they are all from, labels say Curio Yarns. The dyer behind what was Curio, Ellie, has now changed her company name. She's Ellie's Yarn Co. I've had these in my fibre stash for quite a few years now, which is why I wanted to get a combo spin on the go. I've got 4 beautiful braids. The first one is the Smoke and Mirrors colourway, and this is 100% merino. And these beautiful dark greys with a hint of sort of purpley colours in there as well. Next up is Winter Wolf, and this is Rambouillet, which since purchasing this, I have discovered, I've spun with Rambouillet a few times now, it's not my favourite fibre to spin. I have given it a go a few times, but there's just something about me and Rambouillet, we just don't see eye to eye. It's a lovely fibre, and there are people out there whose it's their absolute favourite thing to spin, but it's not mine. So I'll be glad to be using this in this combo spin, because I'll only be spinning sort of little bits of Rambouillet between the rest of the fibre, which is a mix of merino and Corriedale. I love spinning Corriedale and I enjoy spinning merino. So with 4/5 of this spin not being Rambouillet, that should outweigh any small annoyances that I get from spinning the Rambouillet. This one is greys, there's some browns, some touch of blue, and also some of that sort of white natural kind of base showing through. The next one is called Acacia Spirit, and it is also superwash merino. This one is purples with some sort of grey purpley colours and a few areas that are sort of verging on pink. And then finally I have this one, which is Talisman, and it's grey and teal, and again some of that natural merino base. If I remember correctly, as I say, I've had those fibres in my stash for a few years now, but I bought those with the intention of spinning for some sort of fade project, I think. But I have since gone off that idea, and so I'm going to be stripping all the fibres down, throwing them into a basket and doing a combo spin. As I mentioned, I've pulled out one other braid that's not a Curio, Yarns or Ellie's Fiberco fibre, and it is this one. This is a Corriedale base, and it's blues and greys, and again you can tell how long these have been in my fibre stash for, because the label says Smith Studio Designs. Smith Studio Designs is now feather and fleece, but I don't think Rowan is currently dyeing at the moment. So yeah, as I say, this is a Corriedale base with lots of grey and a few hints of those sort of blue tones in as well, which I thought mixed pretty well with the other fibres that I've pulled out of my stash. So I will be stripping these down and spinning them all up together. I don't know how far I will get with that project today. It's New Year's Day today. I don't think I mentioned that at the beginning of the video. It will be a couple of weeks before this goes up on the YouTube channel, but Happy New Year, even though it's late. And because I haven't yet recorded the end sections of some of my previous cast-ons, I probably already said Happy New Year to you, so it's probably a bit obsolete, but hey. It's New Year's Day as I'm recording this. I'm still on my own. James has not yet managed to make it back home from Yorkshire. He's up with his parents at the moment. There's an outside chance he might come home tomorrow, but he should be home at the weekend at the latest. We're not sure how long he's going to be home for, but he's going to come home for a couple of nights at least. But at the moment I'm still on my own, so in terms of what I need to get done today, I need to throw something in the slow cooker for myself so I don't have to worry about feeding myself for the next couple of days. I think I'm going to make some kind of stew or casserole or something like that. I need to get editing and uploading a couple of the previous cast on videos, which you will hopefully by now have seen. I'd like to try and set up my tracking pages in my journal. I haven't done anything for my sort of journal for this year yet. It's obviously the 1st of January, so I've got that to do. There's plenty of stuff to keep me busy. Between all of that extra stuff and me doing the fibre prep, I'm not sure how much actual spinning I will get done today, but hopefully by the time this evening rolls round, I shall start getting something on the e-spinner. I'm planning to spin this fibre on my e-spinner. So yeah, we shall see what the day brings and how much I manage to get done.
Yesterday there was sun and there was rain, beauty in the mundane. And as the light startled our eyes, we let go of disguise.
I've just come upstairs to my bedroom because I think this is going to be the easiest place to start splitting my yarns, and I can lay them all out across the bed. So I think my plan is to divide each of these braids into 8 pieces of fibre, and then after that to gather them together, so I've got 4 groups of fibre. Spin each of those to 1 bobbin, and I will probably end up 2-plying this yarn unless it turns out to want to spin really finely. If my default persists as it usually does, it's unlikely to. So yeah, I just need to crack on and get going with that. These fibres have been in a plastic tub in my fibre storage upstairs, so they're probably a little bit more compacted than they might have been when I first got them. So yeah, I'm just going to spend a bit of time now breaking these fibres down. It's going to take me a little while. Whew. Already getting fluff itch. It's going to take me a little while to go through each of these braids and do this, so I'll probably pop on my audiobook and just spend however long it takes getting this done.
Something in the air and a sparkly shimmer on our skin, restoring everything within. Oh, dreamy, breezy we go, easy, easy on our tiptoes, undercover agents of the other, beyond gravel, beyond all. Hand in hand, building castles out of sand, reaching for the grand.
I've spent some time splitting down all of my fibres. I've put half of my fibre into this big bag, and then I've put a quarter into this bag, and I'll just store those together for the time being. And then I have the final quarter. I've still got all the fluffy bits out in front of me. This is what I'm going to start spinning later. Each of these balls of fluff are still quite a large amount of fibre though, and I don't necessarily want such long strips of each fibre on top of each other. I want to try and mix the fibres and the colours a little bit more without having to go to the trouble of blending them up, putting them through my drum card or anything like that. What I think I'm going to do, now I've got these really long strips, I think I'm going to split each of these down into 4. So I'm just folding this in on itself and pulling it apart. And I'm going to wrap up those little individual pieces. And I'm going to do that for all of the bits of fluff that I have in this quarter of my fibre. And then I'm going to throw them in a basket, and then when I'm spinning them, I'm just going to pull them out randomly and mix the colours that way. The yarn will be what the yarn will be. There's not really much planning going into this. As you can tell, I'm kind of doing it on the fly. It's one of the fun things about not having a pattern in mind, I think, for the spin this time. I don't really have the pressure of any expectations of what I want the yarn to be. It's just going to be whatever it will be. I know that at some point in the future I'll find a pattern that suits the finished yarn. So yeah, a bit more time with the first quarter of this. I'm only going to do the first quarter. Plan is to try and fit this all onto 1 bobbin on my Ashford E-spinner, and then when I pull out the next quarter of fibre, I shall do the same with all of those bits of fluff and split them down like this.
As willows align, we lose track of time. Head up high, now we climb. Oh, dreamy, breezy we go. Easy, easy on our tiptoes.
Before I share with you the progress that I made on my combo spin, I of course have some community cast-ons to share with you. So some of the projects that have been cast on since the last video. So Angela has cast on 4 hats and is counting those as one project. She's also cast on 3 pairs of socks, a love note, a granny square bag, a jumper for her husband, a Just Feel Festive shawl, a crochet vest and an emotional support chicken. I've seen a couple of emotional support chickens, which is really fun. I really enjoyed knitting that project last year. Barb has cast on an indigo shadows cowl, a colourwork bag, a sapphire scarf and a pair of striped step socks. Lisa has cast on a Jaden sweater. Well, it's a spin to knit project, so she started the spin for that. Louise has started a crochet mandala, a scrappy granny shawl, handspun northeasterly, and is starting to weave some fabric to make a pinafore dress. I am just in awe of folks who weave fabric to make their own garments. One day I'll learn to sew with all the spare time I have. Tracy has started a fall sweater, a birch sweater, the little crystal sweater, a double take tee and a double thick hat. Michelle is using the 12 cast-ons to invigorate her starflower blanket, which I love, and she's made 2.5 new hexagons for that blanket. Lynn has finished all of her 12 cast-ons and she said she might have snuck a couple of sneaky extras onto the needles as well, which made me chuckle. Amy Rose has started a Luminaria shawl, an understated hat, some slipper socks and a linen stitch crochet blanket. Julianne has started a flax light, a Jose hood and a pair of crunching carrot socks, which just sound like so much fun. Nina has started 2 pairs of socks, the string of lights and the welcome to the party pal socks. Corrie has started some arm warmers and an Ada sweater. Turtle for Cats has started an autumn leaf shawl, a sack boy, an Imagine When shawl, a Mad Vent shawl, some cable socks and a linen weave boomerang. And last but not least for this video, Ruth has started a northeasterly and some blueberry waffle socks. Good to see the northeasterly getting a couple of representations there. Between cast-ons, I've actually been working on my northeasterly, which I shared quite a lot through Vlogmas when I was working on it then. Managing to get a reasonable amount of progress on that, which is good. I'm trying to get to it's a bit of a digression, but I'm trying to get to a point where I'm using all of the mini skeins that I've got in each colour for that blanket, just so I know what colours I need to collect in the future when I'm looking out for more yarns. Maybe when I go to some fibre shows this year, I can collect a few mini skeins to add to that blanket. So first day of spinning on my combo spin, and it's a little tricky to quantify this because I didn't really weigh my fibre before I started spinning this quarter of the fibre. And as you might have seen from the beginning footage of this, I wasn't super strict with how I split the yarns down. I didn't weigh them, I didn't measure them, I didn't try to get an exact split with each of the fibres. So yeah, I managed to add a few layers worth of fibre to my bobbins. Now this I have loved and disliked at various stages of the layering. This layer that I've got on the bobbin at the moment, I really like the look of. It's kind of reminding me of a pair of socks that I knit quite a few years ago for my mother-in-law, and it was an opal colourway which had purples and greys and blues in it. But there have been various points as I have spun through this where the contrast of colours has been quite stark. So in some of those braids of fibre, there's quite a lot of the white sort of base of the fibre, and that contrasts quite steeply with the darker greys and particularly the dark purples. So there's been parts of this where I've been spinning away thinking, oh, I'm not sure about this. But I think, or I hope, that overall it should be fine. Obviously I will be plying these singles together, so the colour's going to mix and match in whichever ways they want. I'm spinning all of these randomly. I'm just grabbing new pieces of fibre out of my basket as we go through. So I've got no control really over what colours are going to apply together in the plying, but hopefully they will mix and match enough to tone down some of those contrasts. And if not, then it will be fun to see how the yarn knits up when I do knit it into a project. There'll be bits of the yarn that are a bit more homogeneous, and there'll be other bits which have some stark contrast. So yeah, I think it will be interesting either way, and I'm definitely going to carry on. I haven't disliked those parts enough to think, right, I need to stop and rethink this. Of course, the one way in which I could have made sure that the colours blended a little bit more before I started this would have been to put my braids through the drum carder and sort of blend them together that way. But I didn't want to do that for this spin. I just wanted to go with this form of combo spin. I haven't done one of these for a while. So the other thing that I did do as I went through is I switched out my little bundles of fibre into a slightly bigger basket than I started with initially. I'm using this basket now, and it just gives me a little bit more of an overview of what's left in the basket. Because I've got several pieces of each colour, I want to try and avoid spinning, you know, 4 pieces of fibre that have the purple in one after the other. I do want to try and mix it up as much as I can. So just by having these in a slightly more open top basket, I can try and avoid that. I'm not being super picky about what colours are coming out. I don't think I'll even mind if I spin sort of 2 of the same fibre, one after the other, but I don't want to do sort of like 4 pieces of the same fibre, one after the other. So yeah, I'm just giving myself a few options in that regard, but for the most part, just randomly diving into the basket and pulling out whatever my hand lands on first. I have to apologise if I sound a little bit funny or if I'm a bit sniffly. James shared some germs with me, so I've had a cold for the last week or so. And yeah, hopefully I'm at the tail end of it now, but I can hear it as I'm listening to my voice, so you might be able to as well. I've been itching to get back to this spin because it's been quite a few days now since the day of cast on. I've been itching to get back to this spin, but I wanted to share with you my progress on this bobbin before I carried on. So now I've done that, I'll be able to build this spin into my daily crafting, hopefully, and I'll probably set myself a little goal of spinning for at least 15 minutes every day on this project to see how far I can get over the coming weeks. There's still lots of spinning to go. Obviously 500 grams of fibre is quite a lot, so yeah, even 15 minutes a day, it will take me a long time to get through this, but hopefully little by little we shall make progress and eventually have some finished yarn. That's everything for today's video, cast on number 5. I hope you have enjoyed a little bit of a spinning interlude. Please do let me know in the comments below what you have been casting on since the last video, if you have indeed been casting on. If you finished your cast-ons, then let me know which project you have been called back to first. I always find that really interesting to hear what approach people take. There's quite a few people who finish their cast-ons now, and it's interesting to see whether people gravitate back towards the smaller projects first to try and get them done, quote unquote, out of the way, or whether people go for the bigger projects because they know they'll take a little bit longer. So yeah, do let me know. And of course, if you're not joining the 12 cast-ons, then thank you for cheering us on, being our little cheerleaders from the sidelines. I'd love to hear about what you have been making. Are you concentrating on your works in progress, trying to whiz through some of your older projects? Just let me know what you are working on in the comments below. I love to hear from you. I will of course be back again soon with some more making content. I think it will be the next cast on video. The next video should be number 6. Yeah, is that right? Yeah, I think so. So I hope you will join me for that one, but until we do get to spend time together again, I hope you get to do some other things that you enjoy. Great big woolly hugs to you all. Bye for now. Bye.